The Galactic Council had made their decision. Cadet Simon of Earth would be the test subject for planet Car-7, a death world so hostile that 17 different species had attempted colonization, and all had perished within weeks. The official reason was practical field assessment. The real reason was simpler. They wanted to see how long a human would last. Simon stood before the council chamber's viewing screen, his regulation cadet uniform still crisp despite the 6-month journey. Behind him, his companion Sydney, a xenobiology specialist who'd volunteered against all protocols, adjusted her. "Pack one final time. You understand the parameters?" Council head Vraxis clicked his mandibles together nervously. "No extraction. No resupply. This is a one-way assessment. Crystal clear, sir." Simon replied with a grin that made several council members recoil. Humans, they'd learned, smiled more when facing danger. It was unsettling. Sydney touched his shoulder. "Ready. Let's go fishing." The drop pod screamed through Car-7's atmosphere, its heat shields glowing white-hot. When the retro rockets finally fired and they crashed into the planet's surface, the impact rattled their teeth. The ramp descended with a hiss of hydraulics, revealing a landscape that defied description. Purple jungle stretched in every direction, with trees that moved on their own and vines that writhed like serpents. The air was thick with moisture and something else, a metallic tang, that suggested the atmosphere was barely within breathable parameters. In the distance, something roared. It sounded hungry. "Home-like," Simon muttered, already pulling out his survival kit. Sydney was scanning the environment with her datapad. "Atmospheric composition is 42% oxygen. We're going to feel like we're on stimulants constantly. Heart rates will be elevated. So, normal Tuesday for a human?" Simon unpacked what looked like fishing gear. "Come on," the briefing mentioned a lake system to clicks north. They'd been walking for 20 minutes when the creature attacked. It emerged from the undergrowth like a nightmare, given 4 legs, crystalline armor, and a mouth that opened in 3 directions. It stood twice as tall as Simon and moved with terrifying speed. Simon didn't run. Instead, he pulled out a compressed ration bar and threw it at the creature. The beast caught it mid-air, paused, and bit down. Its aggressive posture relaxed slightly. "You're feeding it." Sydney stared at him. "Everything eats," Simon said calmly, tossing another bar. The creature caught it, then sat back on its haunches. "See? Just hungry." By the time they reached the lake, the creature, which Sydney had started calling Rex after Earth's ancient predators, was following them like an oversized puppy. Simon scratched behind what might have been its ears, producing a sound like grinding crystals that was probably purring. The lake was breathtaking. Bioluminescent algae created swirls of blue and green across its surface. Strange fish with translucent bodies darted beneath the water. Simon assembled his fishing rod with practiced efficiency. "Are you seriously going fishing right now?" Sydney asked, already setting up their communications relay. "Mission parameters said to assess planetary resources." Simon cast his line. "I'm assessing. Besides, we need to eat." Sydney shook her head, but couldn't suppress a smile. She activated the video transmitter. "Might as well document this for posterity. The council will want to know what killed us." What the council received 3 hours later was not a distress signal. Across the galaxy, in the pristine halls of the Galactic Council, Vraxis nearly dropped his data tablet. Is this a fishing vlog?" On the screen, Simon sat by the luminescent lake with a fishing rod in hand, looking completely relaxed. Rex lay beside him, occasionally snapping at flying insects. Sydney's voice came from behind the camera, narrating their discoveries. "So this is day 1 on Car-7, Simon was saying cheerfully. "We've already made first contact with the local apex predator. Say hi, Rex." The creature raised its head and made that grinding purr sound. "And we're about to see what the local fish taste like." Sydney thinks the bioluminescence might mean they're toxic, but there's only one way to find out. "He cannot be serious," another council member whispered. The vlog continued. Simon caught something that looked like a cross between a squid and a piranha. He examined it carefully, consulted with Sydney about its anatomy, then proceeded to prepare it over a small plasma fire. Rex got the scraps, crunching through bones with evident satisfaction. "Not bad," Simon announced after taking a bite. "Tastes like chicken." Everything tastes like chicken. That's because you're probably hallucinating from atmospheric toxins, Sydney's voice countered. But she was laughing. The vlogs kept coming. Day 2 showed Simon building a shelter using local materials and Earth survival techniques. That seemed absurdly primitive yet perfectly functional. Day 5 featured him domesticating a second creature, something that resembled a flying manta ray, which he used for aerial reconnaissance. Day 7 was titled Brewing Coffee on a Death World, a tutorial. By week 3, Simon had established a thriving camp. He'd mapped the local ecosystem, cataloged 17 edible species, and accidentally started what Sydney called a monster sanctuary as more creatures discovered that the strange bipeds dispensed food and scratches. The council watched in stunned silence as Simon taught Rex to fetch. A creature that had killed a team of armored Vraxian commandos was now playing fetch. Month 1 check-in. Simon waved at the camera, looking healthier than when he'd arrived. The high oxygen content had given both humans increased energy and stamina. We've got a sustainable food source, fresh water after Sydney figured out the filtration system, and our new friends keep the really dangerous stuff away from camp. Planning to explore the mountain range next week, Sydney appeared beside him. We've also discovered that the planet's hostility was largely misunderstood. Most species that failed here tried to fight the ecosystem. Simon's approach of integration and adaptation has proven far more effective. Also, Simon added with that unsettling human grin, it helps that we think 80% of this planet's deadly creatures are adorable. By month 6, their camp had expanded into a small research station. They'd mapped 3 continents, established contact protocols with several semi-intelligent species, and Simon's vlogs had somehow gained a following across the civilized galaxy. Beings from 1,000 worlds tuned in to watch the human cadet fish, cook, and cheerfully survive on a planet that should have killed him. The Galactic Council faced an uncomfortable truth. They hadn't sent Simon to a no-return planet to die. They'd accidentally given humanity its first successful death world colony, and the human had turned it into a fishing trip with his best friend and an ever-growing family of deadly alien pets. When the council finally sent an extraction offer after a year, Simon's response was brief: "Thanks, but we're good here. Rex just had babies and I'm teaching them tricks. Also, the fishing's great." Sydney added a note: "Recommend Car 7 for human colonization. We've prepared detailed integration protocols." Also, Simon's right about the fishing. Vraxis looked at his fellow council members. "I believe," he said slowly, "we may have made a miscalculation about humans on Car 7. Simon cast his line into the luminescent waters while Rex's crystalline offspring played nearby. Sydney was documenting new species. Somewhere overhead, the manta ray creatures circled protectively. The death world had become a home, and the galaxy would never look at humans or fishing vlogs the same way again.